Hi everyone, I'm sat outside on my balcony right now, so I don't know if the weather and like the noise is going to be really loud. Apologies in advance. So, Wizard Liz, if you don't know who she is or the current situation, she's basically like Mother Mary for the girls. She's just very, I think I would say she's like what Andrew Tate thinks he is for women, you know? Like, she's the definition of like an alpha female who stands on business, and a lot of her content she makes is around female oriented power, but not in the sense of like girl boss like it is, but it's very practical. And she can typically be perceived as harsh. I think that's one of the main things that men like to critique her on, is that she's harsh or she's like non-forgiving or whatever. And I don't really believe any of that. I think she's just very honest and very pragmatic with her advice, which is what's got her so far. So she is married, I believe, or engaged, one of the two. Even so, it was a big thing when she got engaged. Everyone was like, okay, wow, like this guy must be really special because she does not take shit from anyone. Like, she is known to be, you know, very firm on her boundaries. And I actually think that I've modelled quite a lot of my own boundaries off of her advice. And I think a lot of other girls have too. And I think it was either like this morning or last night, I'm not 100% sure, she posted that she had been cheated on, and she's also 4 months pregnant, which obviously adds like a lot of layers to the story. So her husband slash fiance slash cunt, basically, they went for a trip to London, and he was like messaging this girl on Snapchat, trying to like get her to meet up with him or something, and she found out. I think the girl said no and then told her, and it's just caused this whole, the internet's blown up over it, or my corner of the internet has at least. And I think one of the reasons that this is such a big deal is because I know a lot of people that don't follow her or listen to her content or whatever are probably thinking, everyone gets cheated on, like why is it such a big deal? And it is such a big deal because she is being so vocal about it. I think there's a few reasons, right? One, she's being so vocal about it. Two, she's left him. And three, the fact that I think we all thought as women, or people, you don't have to be a woman to listen to her content, but I think the people that listen to her content thought, okay, he must be that guy, you know, like he must be the one because she wouldn't take shit. And it just shows, I think, that like a huge like amount of, you know, I see all these videos of people being like, he did this for her, he like wrote her a book, he bought her like an 100 grand engagement ring, he's like flown her all around the world, like he's done all of these things for her, you know, tells her how much he loves her every single day, and he still cheated. And I think this is the main reason, I think, why it's caused this huge media debate, is because I think a lot of girls are thinking, and also she's beautiful. Like if you look her up, she's just like a 10 in every sense of the word. And I think a lot of girls are thinking, if this happened to her, I'm trying to be very careful about what language I use, because I've seen so much content, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to make this episode, of people blaming her. And I'll get into that in a minute. But a lot of people are thinking like, well, if this could happen to her, how am I ever safe from the Sunday scaries? Do you know what I mean? Like, these men will cheat on you no matter what. You could be the perfect package and it will still happen to you. And I think it's really caused this debate online about, what I've seen is a lot of people have been digging her out about how she talks about things online. And I saw actually quite a long Instagram thread earlier about how she's not healed because she brings up her issues online or she talks about things online that have happened to her, or she, you know, like whatever, feels like the need to bring it up. And I feel this quite personally for me, because I've had people before say to me, why are you bringing this up, or why are you dogging it out, or why are you like dragging me online? And I think the main point that I would like to make is, and this is like a main part of her, honestly, anything I'm about to say, go and listen to her. She's probably got, you know, like a long format YouTube video on the points I'm about to make. The main point is about people trying to put these women in these boxes of like being polite and quiet and kind, and, you know, don't talk about that, or don't bring that up, or it's uncomfortable for me to listen to that. And like, I think this is the main reason that she honestly does so well, is because she just talks about whatever the fuck she wants, and like, she's not going to dilute herself or her content to appease anyone. And I think I've honestly taken so much from that as a lesson, maybe not directly from her, I think using that as a jumping pad to speak on other things, but having my own personal experiences where I feel like I've been silenced, or, you know, every girl can relate to that feeling of not being believed or not being heard, or, you know, just no one listening. And I think the amazing thing with modern day technology and modern day media is you are allowed that voice, and there are still people that are saying it's messy to talk about it, or it's, you know, oh fuck, it's raining. I'm gonna go stand inside, apologies for the little delay. That it's not okay to talk about these things, and that you shouldn't voice these things online, and that they should be private and personal. And, you know, it kind of just gives that thing of like that Victorian mindset of keep sweet and obey, and like, don't bring those things up, or don't bring up things that have hurt you, because it's your own business and it's no one else's business. And I think honestly one of the main reasons like that I carry on podcasting is because of the amount of messages I get from girls saying, actually, and boys, like on a lot of my Andrew Tate ones, I actually had quite a lot of boys message me saying how much it resonated with them, because I spoke about a lot of like male-centered issues. Not that I'm qualified to talk about that, but I don't know, yeah, I get a lot of people message me and say how hearing like my philosophy on certain things, I guess, helped them heal something, or think about it in a new perspective, or, you know, just hear it in a different way, in a repackaged way, because obviously the way I think about things isn't going to be the way that anyone else thinks about things. We all have our own outlook, and this is why I love content creators like her, and like anyone that just kind of speaks their mind, because you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to take it on board if it's not something that resonates with you. I'm not going to sit and listen to Andrew Tate's podcasts because it's not something that I identify with, but that doesn't mean that I don't see an information outlet in someone that has a voice. You know, it's like I could read a published article on a certain topic and it's full of information and it's very informative, and that's great. Or I could listen to a 20-minute YouTube video from a girl who has 10 followers and is just speaking her mind. And I think that's the one that would stick with me, because it's so focused on the human experience. And for me, I really value the human experience more than maybe like factual, I don't know, like records, I guess. Like I'm not overly academic in that sense, perhaps, in the sense of like where I can listen to something and just take it all in. But I think when I see that there's emotion behind it, you feel connected to it. And I think that's what's upsetting about when people say, you don't talk about that, or that's wrong, or you can't say that, or I don't know, whatever. And I think the only difference is if you're being oppressive, right? Like if you're being homophobic or misogynistic or anything like that, I think that's different. And obviously like hate speech is real, and like I think there's a fine line between freedom of speech and, I don't know, just being mean. And I think that's a line that I've had to learn, because I think a lot of the times in the past when I was younger, like pre-podcast, I used to say things and they were cruel. And because I wasn't emotionally tied to it, I didn't find it cruel. But, you know, someone else that is would find that cruel. And like, that's something that I've learned. But I do think in learning that, a lot of women will go through this phase of, you don't want to say anything because you've hurt someone's feelings. And I think there's this thing about, like, when you uncover empathy, right? Because I think empathy is look at all, I see it as a linear scale, right? You kind of learn empathy through experience, and you have to almost, I think karma comes into it a lot. Like, there's been multiple times in my life where I've done something, and then like a year or two, like even maybe 10 years later, that thing will happen to me, and I think, fuck, I must have really hurt that person when I did that, but at the time I didn't care. And I think that's what I mean when I say it's linear, is that I'm learning gradually, you know, over the years as I'm getting older, how to word things or say things in a way that is still within my boundaries and still like stands true to what I believe in, but also not to dilute myself or my beliefs or thought processes for anyone. You know, I was going to say for men, and I think that obviously is a part of it, but honestly for anyone, like, and I think that's one of the reasons that so many people have been giving their 2 cents, making so many TikTok videos. I've seen so many videos about people putting in their opinion about Wizard Liz. And I think the reason that I'm annoyed at these other women, because I will say this now, is that the only hate comments that I saw personally, and I will say I literally spent like 5 minutes looking through this thread, and every comment that was hateful was from a woman, but also all the comments were from women. So it might have just been that corner of the internet that I was on at that time. I'm sure many men are dogging her out as well, and I don't want to hear it, honestly. Like, it's not a bit of me right now. But I don't say women in the sense of like, oh, they're bloody women. Do you know what I mean? It's just that the content I saw was from women. And they were all talking about how she's not healed because she talks about things online. And I thought a few things when I saw it. And I think one of the main things that I thought is that to the best of my knowledge, she's never claimed to be healed. She's claimed to be healing, which I think is vastly different. And I think there's this thing with our society of things being definitive, you know, black or white. It's never grey. You know, you can't just be healing. You have to be healed. Or you can't just be one thing. You have to be all of it the whole way. Like, and I'm trying to think of a different example, but nothing's coming to me. But I think there's this huge misconception around healing that while you're healing, or when you say you're healing, people expect you to be perfect, or they expect you to have learned from every mistake ever. And it's just not how it is. And I don't know how many people that listen to this are on self-development journeys, but I've been on mine for about 5 years now, since I was 18. And if I look at when I started healing, I guess, from my shit, you know, and this isn't just shit that's happened to me, it's shit that I've done to other people, because I think this is sorry, my brain is all over the place. This is another huge misconception that healing solely involves things that have happened to you. And I think one of the biggest and most important, and honestly the hardest, and I think this is why shadow work is really important, is learning the ways in which you've hurt other people. And a lot of those do stem down to things that have happened to you, or, you know, behaviours that were normalised while you were growing up that aren't normal or aren't nice, but because you didn't understand that wasn't okay, you just perpetuate that onto other people. And a big part of like when I started getting into self-development and healing and things like that, it was because I basically got dogged out by all my friends for being a bit of a cunt, which is true, I was. Like, there's no like denying that. So I kind of went the personal route first of like what I'd done to other people. And it's really hard and really horrible because you learn about empathy, you know? I'm repeating myself, but you learn about empathy, you learn about the ways in which your actions kind of have consequences. And I think because I was 18, my brain was not very developed, and I didn't really understand cause and effect properly at that point. And I don't hold that against myself anymore. And I think there was a really big period of guilt surrounding that, because I felt like, well, you know, I've done all these terrible things and I'm a terrible person and whatever. And I think it's taken me a long time to learn that, you know, doing bad things doesn't make you a bad person. And if you take the chance, or the time, maybe not the chance, take the time to acknowledge that, that's the most you can do. And then, you know, after that, gradually I moved on to like external healing. So like things that had happened to me, maybe that was in childhood or whatever. And then, you know, going to therapy and stuff like that. So it's kind of, it's the, both of those things are equally important. You know, it's kind of like the yin and yang, the internal and the external. And I think one of the funniest things that I've realised going through this is I will have a situation happen, or no, that's not true. I will be doing something. It could be as menial as making coffee in the morning, and all of a sudden I have a flashback, or like, that makes it sound really like That's So Raven-y. It's not like that, but it's like I have like a memory or a thought of something that happened either to me or something that I did whenever. It could have been last week, it could be when I was 5, you know, and I'll think, oh my God, like that really hurt me, or I really hurt that person. And then it's all I think about for the weeks until I address it, because I don't always address these things straight away. You know, we've all got lives and things to do. But I know this is kind of trigger warning on sexual assault here, so if you don't want to listen to that, maybe skip past like 5 minutes or so. I remember when I was 18 or 9, no, I think I was like 19 or so, I was convinced that I had fully healed everything in my life. I went through like a 2-week period of just being like really happy, and you know, this happens in development. You'll like overcome something and be like, yeah, I'm so happy. And I remember thinking like, yes, I'm done, I'm healed or whatever. And at that point in my life, I was really interested in demonology specifically. And I was really interested in succubuses and incubuses, which I know is kind of crazy, but I was kind of crazy at that time. And I kept getting these recurring thoughts about being sexually assaulted. And it was just something, it was just eating away at me. And for a week or so, I was like, what is it? And then I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like something that was locked inside of me. My whole life came just like flooding out. And it was of all the times that I'd been sexually assaulted. And if this is not my sob story, this is not. But I remember thinking, why is this only bothering me now? Why is it only now that this is something that I'm, you know, last week I thought I was fucking perfectly content and nothing bad that I hadn't already addressed had ever happened to me. And then, you know, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I have this debilitating realization. And I know they say, you know, in a lot of people, trauma conceals itself, and I think it locks itself up in you and it presents as certain things. So it could be like hypersexuality or complete introversion, or, you know, it can be like in a range of different ways. But I was able to look at my behaviors and identify that those were fucking cries for help as someone who's been sexually assaulted. And like, to me, it's so obvious now, looking back, it's so clear that I was exhibiting these signs, you know, and I had no idea. And obviously, you know, I wasn't in therapy at this point. I didn't really know what to do with this information. And it's like, if you look at a lot of PTSD survivors, or I don't know if survivors is the right word for that, I guess so, maybe, or just people that have gone through severe trauma, they quite often don't remember it. Or, you know, people that have large chunks of their childhood that they don't remember. It's honestly probably because they're quite traumatized. And I feel in myself that the trauma that I am ready to deal with comes out at a time when I'm ready to deal with it. And because that was one of my, that's probably my worst trauma. Again, please don't fucking, this is not a cry for help. I'm not sad about it anymore. Like, it's done. Like, it's not, I'm fine, trust me. But it was like, I don't think my body or my mind or like my spirit, honestly, was ready to handle that at like fresh 18 or like any other age prior to that, you know? And so my body stored it away and locked it away until a time where I was ready to handle it. And I've had this happen quite a few times throughout my life where I'll have a realization and think, fuck, like that was really actually quite scary or quite traumatizing, or something that shouldn't have happened to me, especially things that happened to you when you were a child, I think, as well. Like, we forget when we are adults that the things that happen to us as children, while they could be okay happening to us as an adult, that's not okay to happen to you as a child. And I think these things, they happen and you don't acknowledge it at the time, and then looking back, it's only upon reflection that you think that was really wrong or that was really bad. And you know, it's that point that you deal with it. And I'm talking about all of this because to these people that were digging out Wizard Liz online for not being healed enough, it just makes me think about these situations that I've been in where I've been trying my absolute best and I think I'm getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden it comes crashing down. And it's like, not only are they kicking her while she's down, and also very reasonable and justifiable crash out, I would say, but also she's not claiming to be this like Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa character that is this like, you know, Buddha level of enlightened. She's never said that. And I think it's really weird, honestly, and very strange to see a girl reasonably call out someone for something that has directly affected her or had an impact on her life in such a traumatic way, and then be like, you're not very healed for talking about that. Because it's like, why are you trying to shoehorn her into this box of like, just walk away, just whatever. She has fucking walked away, but she's allowed to talk about it. And, you know, I think there's this thing about, like, women not being able to express pain or just being expected to... I hate, right, the term or the I don't know what you call it, phrase of like, take the high road. Because sometimes you genuinely do just need to tell someone to fuck off. And the thing is like, there's a difference. And I will always say, right, I will take the high road if I don't care about you. Like, I said this to one of my friends the other day. We were having a little bit of a disagreement about something. And I said, me having this conversation with you is my attempt at maintaining our relationship, because if I didn't care about you, you just wouldn't hear from me again, you know? And I think there's this real weird disconnect between people showing emotion and people being perceived as like, I don't know, immature or like unjust. And it's like, you're not allowed to have an opinion or be emotional or be upset, because I'm a very, very emotive person, right? And I'm very expressive. And I think a lot of the times people think I'm maybe more emotional about things than I actually am, because I'm so expressive and I kind of throw myself around in conversation and whatever. And I can understand how that can be perceived as like me being really angry. And sometimes I am really angry, you know? And at that point it's like, it's very evident. But I think it's this thing of like, I'm passionate because I care. And it's like, would you rather I didn't care? No. And like, there's this whole thing of, you know, the girls will know what I'm talking about, but it's this thing of like, walk away, don't tell him how he hurt you, just like leave without a trace and he'll always remember the good times. And it's like, why are you preserving his feelings? Why are you preserving your image in his head after he disrespected you? Because you care so much that he has this good opinion of you. And this is the thing that I hate, is that even in the absence of someone's character, we're still worried about what they think. Even if they could have done the worst thing to you on planet Earth, they could have cheated on you when you're 4 months pregnant with their baby. And, you know, I mean, in Wizard Liz's case, is not so much, because she's very much just done what she wanted, which I gravely admire. But I'm not just going to walk away without, like, I'm going to tell you how you hurt me. And I don't think that's unfair. And I think a lot of the times people don't like it because they don't want to hear that they've upset you. And I get it. It's not nice to know that you've hurt someone, whether it was intentional or not, whether you had malicious intent or whether you meant it, or, you know, whatever the variables are that you're using to justify what you did. Feelings aren't, it's an individualistic experience. Like, when you have your own feelings towards something, you can't be told, no, you don't feel like that, because you do. And I think a lot of people tie themselves to other people's emotions, specifically women, because obviously we're maternal by nature and we've been conditioned into being the, you know, the crutch. Everyone puts all their shit on us all the time. And so I think, you know, when people say, you've hurt me, a lot of people's, I think, first instinct is to be like, no, I didn't. Or no, I didn't mean to. Or because I didn't mean to, it doesn't count and it's not valid anymore. And I think I understand, right? This is the thing, is that I understand why people feel like that and why they don't want to sit and think, fuck, I hurt their feelings. But the thing is, you can hurt someone's feelings and have the best intentions. Like, it happens. And this is the thing, like I always say, you know, I really feel like I need to find a better wording for this, because it's stupid, and I feel like there must be another way to describe it. But I always say, what's good for the spider is bad for the ant. Like, you know, the spider gets to eat, but the ant dies. And I feel like this perfectly sums up that something could be very good for one person, but very bad for someone else. And it's like, I'm not saying that, like, cheating on your wife when she's 4 months pregnant is very good for you. It's like self-gratification, you know, like clearly he was very in his ego when he decided to do that. But it's like, you know, you can't tell someone in any situation that what they experienced as bad wasn't bad. And like, I understand that there's nuance in this, in not this situation, but in situations, full stop, because certain things you might feel are unjust, or you might feel someone's crashing out unnecessarily, or, you know, they're being a bit of a drama queen. Like, I understand all of these things, and I think everyone's had an experience in their life where they've like got in an argument and been like, this is fucking pointless, like, why are you so fuming? I don't get it. But I think the easiest thing is just to empathize. Like, it's just, I think this whole topic with Wizard Liz boils down to empathy, because he clearly had no fucking empathy when he decided to do what he did. These people that are dogging her out have no empathy, you know. And then obviously on the other hand, you've got all these other people that are putting in their perspectives where they have so much empathy. And I think she even has empathy for, like, I've seen her post about the girl that this messaged her saying that he was trying to get with her or whatever. She's like expressed gratitude for her being the way that she was. And I think that shows that, you know, even in a situation where, like, typically a lot of people would blame the woman, she is so healed enough in herself that she can acknowledge that she's not the problem. And I think that's something that is really, like, astounding and shows, like, an insane level of healedness, or, like, I don't know, just like, you have to be at such a point where you don't hold hate for the other woman in that. I know she wasn't the other woman because, like, nothing happened, I think. But I might be wrong. I'm not 100% clued up on the facts. But it shows so much growth, I think. And, like, then for people to come on and just dig her out for no reason, I think is, like, absolutely insane. And I think a lot of that just comes down to internalized misogyny. Like, you know, let the girl fucking crash out. Jesus Christ, I would have crashed out 10 times harder if that was me. I don't know. My brain switched off. We're getting to a nice round 30-minute episode. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Love you.